Now, Republicans and some Democrats, though, have criticized the Biden administration's decisions in Afghanistan. On Friday, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy slammed President Biden.
To be commander-in-chief, you need the faith, the trust, and the confidence of the American public. President Biden lost all three of those yesterday.
The Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Bob Menendez, a Democrat, released a statement saying, quote, "I am disappointed that the Biden administration clearly did not accurately assess the implications of a rapid U.S. withdrawal." Sahil, we're talking about Congress, have to come to you. How expected is the GOP response to this? And also, how concerned are Democrats about the political fallout of what's happening?
Yeah, the GOP response was quite expected. I think the White House was a little more caught off guard by how forceful some of the Democrats were. Not only Bob Menendez, but Representative Gregory Meeks in the House, who chairs the Foreign Affairs Committee, promised an investigation, the two of them. And as far as McCarthy's comments, there's a bifurcated dynamic here where in the short term, they smell blood in the water politically. They sense this is a moment of possible weakness for President Biden, and they want to use that to weaken the president politically. But then there's the bigger, more complicated question of what McCarthy and his allies would do instead. And that is where we saw him get a little tripped up on Friday when he got asked questions about, for instance, the troop presence. Does he want a longer and more permanent troop presence? He kind of waffled around that, did not have a clear answer. The issue of negotiating with the Taliban, which experts seem to think is inevitable now. They are a very powerful force, like it or not, in Afghanistan. He faulted President Biden for doing that negotiation, but didn't fault former President Trump for initiating that negotiation to begin with. So a very complicated set of dynamics.
Well, the GOP is doing some backflips here in some ways. What you're describing is this idea that they supported President Trump when he was saying that he wanted to be out by May 1st, but are criticizing President Biden. I also see this thing that's going on with the GOP, which when it comes to immigration in particular, and so I want to ask you about it again. And direct it to you. There's this real issue about immigration. I can almost feel it coming around the corner of where are these refugees being put? What local communities are they coming to? How do you see this connecting to the debate, the larger debate we've been having about immigration in this country?
This is going to be a big, big debate in Congress, and it's absolutely tied to the larger issue of immigration, because right now everyone is focused on the withdrawal of these people. There's a unanimous feeling in Congress that this is what the administration needs to be focused on. But once they get out, what happens next? Where do they go? There's currently a limit, about 62,000 that the president has pursued of refugees. That is several days' worth of evacuees at this point. That's not going to be enough for all the people who want to come here. There are already about 70 House Democrats who have signed a letter calling on the president to more than triple that cap to 200,000. That is not going to go over well with a lot of conservative Republicans who are pressuring the Biden administration to get those people out right now. This is a big debate coming around the bend, and it ties into immigration very much so.
Quickly, Jane, in 30 seconds, what are the biggest questions around the corner? We're only 4 days out. What are the questions when you think about August 31st and September 1st?
Pushing forward, we're going to need to see if Afghanistan can be secured, if the capital can be secured by the Taliban. It's hard to believe that we're even having this conversation, but are the Taliban going to form a government? There's lots of meetings about that right now. Will they be able to provide any semblance of security? And will any of the other people who had been hoping to get out, including American citizens, be able to get out of the country at this point?
Nancy, what are your biggest questions as we look about around the corner at what's next when we think of what's going on? Again, we're running up on time, but I want to ask you.
Well, just to pick up on what Jade said, I think some people think of August 31st as the end, but it's actually a new beginning, not only for Afghanistan, but for how the U.S. combats terrorist groups around the world, and what are the lasting effects of this withdrawal, of leaving people behind, of working with the Taliban, of groups like the Islamic State able to launch attacks so soon after the Taliban took over.
Last point to you, 10 seconds. You talked about what's next around the corner in the briefing room today at the White House. What's next?
Well, they didn't have a really good answer. They said that they can't guarantee that people will be able to get out after August 31st, and they're trying to set up a process. So that's what we'll be looking for.